Celtic are back in league action this weekend as they take on St Johnstone in the 3 o'clock kick-off on Saturday at Celtic Park. This is Tino with the countdown to kick-off, joined here by James and Brydo. Brydo, myself and James done the post-match after Livy at the weekend, but not spoke to you since that one. So what was your general take on how it all played out in the 4-2 win?
I'm glad to be back on, lads. Thank you. I think I was kind of just glad it was a cup game in a way. Just get it over the line. We could kind of almost like say, all right, tick the box and away we go and move on to the next round and get a trip to Hampden. So I was kind of glad that it was a cup game. I think if it was a league game, I'd maybe poured over it a wee bit more and looked at a lot of the kind of not so good bits. But just glad to get through, really. I just feel like it's a season that's kind of, I don't want it to feel like that, but I feel like it's dragging on a wee bit. There just seems to be constant something. And just when you think you're getting somewhere, which we'll probably touch on today, something else happens and there's a lot of things to be dealing with. So that game was just a case of getting through to the next round. It wasn't easy. That was a team for Livingston that had nothing really to lose. They're having a real tough time of it. And it was probably a break from their kind of negative type stuff that's going on. So, yeah, just we dealt with it eventually, but it still left a lot of questions. I think more questions than answers. And at this stage of the season, it's not really what we want nor expect. So, yeah, it wasn't brilliant, but it was a job done.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. We've had a wee bit of back and forward this week, so we've done the post-match. I'm making my days right. Sunday was that one. So done the post-match after that. And James, your general point was that it wasn't great, but it's a kind of distraction. The league is the be-all and end-all. I think we can all agree that. And the cup, yeah, it was a bit turgid, but getting through is the main thing. And some folks want to, in my opinion, dwell on the fact that, well, it was still crap and we didn't play well and let's kind of stay in that area. I think we just need to chalk off the wins and move on. You can give me Celtic potentially have 11 games left this season, 9 league games and semi-final and final if we get there. You can give me 11 of the ugliest performances you wish to throw up as long as Celtic win this league this season. Scottish Cup a bonus. If we can win the league, I'll take it any which way it comes. And then we can regroup in the summer. Listen, it might be a future without Brendan Rodgers. We'll need to see what happens. But I think we just need to look at the here and now and back the team in, between now and what would be 25th of May, Scottish Cup final day, if we get there.
It's exactly that. I mean, it's been a very pleasant 20 years to be a Celtic fan. We've won everything by and large over that period. And with that comes not an expectation in terms of entitlement. I don't buy into the Celtic fans are entitled and all that stuff, but you're more used to winning things than not, and winning things comfortably, invincible seasons, all that stuff. But it's not the norm. The norm is that league campaigns, for anyone who's involved in any football, as a fan, as a player, as a manager, whatever, they're hard slogs, and it's been a hard slog this year. I actually feel a wee bit different to Brydo. I think it has been hard today, but I'm really excited now. But they could really, as Rodgers calls it, this is where the fun starts, and I can't wait for each game to come because it takes you closer and closer to a title. There's challenges there, of course, but we've got to be up for that. That's what being a football fan is. So I'm really excited about the running, and it starts on Saturday, obviously.
Yeah, I've said it a couple of times. There's a couple of ways to look at this title race, and that's definitely what it is. You can bemoan the fact that we're in a title race because, yes, we were whatever it was, 8 points clear or whatever it was at the time. And through Celtic's failings, and that's what they've been in some recent games, we've dropped points at Aberdeen, dropped points, Kilmarnock, different occasions across the season. And it's by our own hand that we've been dragged back into this title race and now find ourselves 2 points behind. But you can either bemoan the fact or just embrace where we are. We're in mid-March and it is what it is. And we've still got a really solid chance of winning the league. But I think a huge factor in whether we do so or not will be the return of some key players. So obviously at the weekend there, we knew Callum McGregor was going to miss out. He's been struggling with this calf/Achilles issue. Cameron Carter-Vickers was a surprise exclusion from the team, and I believe that was precautionary because he tweeted something or felt something on last Friday at training. So we know those two are missing. Yang has still got a game of suspension to serve, and we know Rio Hatate's still not quite there, but hopefully not far away. How huge could it be, Brydo, to get 2, 3 or even all 4 of those guys back, certainly for Ibrox and for the rest of the run-in?
It'll be absolutely massive. We managed to see quite a stark difference for Carter-Vickers coming on during a game when we played Motherwell away, and him coming on essentially led us, or kind of guided us to actually getting the all important 3 points. Callum McGregor's a player that we're so used to. I think we sometimes, not everybody, but we can take players like that for granted sometimes, and it's only when they're not in the team, influential they are. No more so than we seen at Tynecastle when we went down to 10 men. There should be opportunities for players. There should be opportunities for guys like Iwata to come in and play well and give real competition, but they've just not done it. And I think that's where the frustration comes in and the concern comes in. So when you touch on them coming back, it's absolutely huge. It's a must. I don't think we can cope or have any aspirations to win all the remaining games if these players aren't coming back. We thought we were kind of on the crest of getting players back when Carter-Vickers came back. Egger then went out, and then obviously that we're thinking, when's Hatate coming back? And then next thing you know, we've got two of them out again. You know, no Carter-Vickers or McGregor. So it's really, when big players like that are missing, it's just it affects the other players as well. They're the leaders in the team. So the team itself as a collective, plus their individual ability, it's massive. So, like James, you know, this is the exciting part of the season. But exciting if we're not got that trepidation of what are these big players going to get in or not, or come back or not. So it's massive that they come back, and it's massive they come back as quickly, as early as possible.
Yeah, 100%. We were speaking on the weekly show, myself, James and Joe, just about the fact that all four of those guys, Callum McGregor, Carter-Vickers, Yang and Rio Hatate, they breeze back into this starting 11. There's no debate about it. If they're fit and ready to go, those guys walk right back into the team, and rightly so. James, let's take a look at what we think Brendan Rodgers will go with then against St Johnstone. So, Joe Hart, as always, will start in goals. Do you expect the return of Cameron Carter-Vickers? I know it was a precaution, but if he feels good to go, every point, every goal is now a prisoner. He'd have to start, wouldn't he?
Yeah, I mean, some fans are leaning towards, we've got obviously a game against Rangers coming up, and they're thinking, well, we don't want him relapsing and being missing for that. But there's no point in getting to the Rangers game with CCV if you drop any points on the way. So it's your strongest team, whoever commits himself to being fit and available. And I think CCV will be in that, and he'll be picked. Yeah, he starts for me 100%.
Yeah, agreed. There was a clip doing the rounds, and don't take any pleasure in discussing it, but it was Liam Scales and Stephen Welsh really struggled at the weekend. Not so much defensively. Well, I'll correct myself. Stephen Welsh did struggle defensively with that first goal particularly. But the big onus was on what they're doing going forward and how sluggish they were in terms of starting Celtic's attacks. They get a lot of the ball, on Sunday, and Celtic centre halves will always get loads of the ball in a game like that. But there was a clip doing the rounds, and it showed you, I think, 5 or 6 clips of Liam Scales, compiled together, where he frequently played the ball either in line with Stephen Welsh or behind him. Whereas a confident player and a guy who's starting the attacks effectively will always put it where the player is going to be, not where he currently is. You should play it 2-3 yards ahead of him, allows him to step onto it and take it in his stride. And he was constantly giving it to Stephen Welsh, who had to check back on himself, get out his feet and then start the attack. And it only takes an extra couple of seconds, James, but that's a crucial couple of seconds when the team you're up against is trying to reorganise and regroup. You need to break pacey as and when you can.
I mean, it's been a big part of what's stemmed their fluidity this season. And Scales not the only one guilty of it. I think there's a nervousness to not make a mistake. So if I put it in front of the guy and somebody nicks in, blah, blah, blah. But we just don't do that. Just be confident in your passing, find your man, but you've got to have it in front of him. If it's not in front of him, he's not starting the attack immediately. He's stopping. I honestly think it's been such a big problem this season, and a big reason why we've struggled in games, because we're at our best when we're fluid and we're attacking. By the time that the defence have got the ball out from under their feet, all the opposition players are back, and you're playing that 10v8 situation. So Yeah, I don't necessarily like Scales has been singled out for it because he's not alone by any stretch, but it's got to stop. I mean, you are really looking at Scales has played a lot of football. He's jumped on massively in terms of his development. He's very possibly hit his ceiling. And if you had personnel, you're probably looking at giving him a rest there, but I don't know if we've got it. So it's probably CCV and Scales for me.
I don't think we do have it. I think, rightly or wrongly, it's Liam Scales' jersey for the rest of the season. I also think now, as I say, potentially 11 games left, you just can't be trying to say it was Lager Bielka. You can't be trying to bed a guy like that, and now's not the time for experimenting or playing about. So I think that'll be the move, Brydo. It's Carter-Vickers and Scales, and it's got to be Alistair Johnston and Greg Taylor either side. So let's take it as read that we're in agreement on those four. What do you think the midfield's going to look like? Iwata has struggled the last couple of games. Myself and James, big fans. Not sure exactly where you're at on it, but does he start again, or do we need to again change your midfield?
I think we need to change the midfield. I think it'll be a different type of game, to be fair. It's not going to be like Tynecastle, for example. And then the game against Livingston, I thought they gave it a decent goal and stuff, but I just felt like it just compounded the Scales-Welsh thing that you were just discussing there. Iwata was doing that too. It was like he didn't want the ball. He wasn't wanting to take control of the game. I mentioned it after, I think, the Hearts game. He didn't want to grab the game by the scruff of the neck. And I just think if you're getting an opportunity when McGregor's out, you've got to want to do that. Otherwise, why are you a central midfield player at Celtic? I think he's got attributes. I just don't know if he's got that killer instinct or that kind of aggression in his game. I just to demand the ball from the centre halves. And if you add that to the fact that the two centre halves take too long, it's just that's where the problem is. That for me is where it all breaks down. I wouldn't start him. I'd be playing Matt O'Reilly in that deeper midfield like we did when McGregor had his broken jaw. I would be playing Matt O'Reilly in there, and probably Bernardo and Kelly in front of him. And I think the young guys, he's not done massive amounts, but for me, he's certainly done enough that shows he's got a bit about him, and he'll be somebody I think that would take an opportunity, and we'll have a lot of the ball. He looks quite dynamic. He does not look his age. he looks very physical, and I think he would fit in just fine. And Bernardo, listen, he's probably only there by default at the minute because he's not done a great deal either. So I'd play him because he's shown what he can do from time to time. But if there was another option there, perhaps I wouldn't play him from the start either. So, but I'd play O'Reilly, Bernardo, and Kelly as my three, and Iwata would drop to the bench because I thought he was absolutely shocking the other week.
It's interesting, Brydo. I think a lot of folks would be in agreement with you. Again, just from doing the post-match with James, I don't think any of Celtic's midfield three played well against Livingston. I think actually not a lot of the team in general played well. Of the 11 players involved, I think we highlighted that Joe Hart in goals, your two fullbacks of Taylor and Johnson, and your two white guys in terms of Kuhn and Maeda. They guys all get pass marks, and Maeda obviously for his hat-trick, and Kuhn showed a bit more about what he can do. But that side, nobody else. And through the spine of the team, your two centre defenders, your three centre midfielders did not step up on the day. And that's the big concern. James, you were chatting in the group chat earlier on about Daniel Kelly, and I think you've got a similar opinion to Brydo there in terms of you think he's got talent. He scored that good goal against Dundee, but he's not done much one way or another. So it's not a criticism, but we've yet to see what he's really got to offer. He must be impressing in other areas. The fact that Brendan Rodgers has made him part of his first team squad, and he's now featured, I think, off the bench in the last 3 games in a row. So he must have something to offer. And the game against St Johnstone, it would be a risk, but is it any more risky than playing an off-form Bernardo or potentially an off-form Iwata?
I mean, I'll start at the end. Kelly's in my starting lineup, 100%. But if you look at his, the last couple of games he's played, and put it this way, if we'd signed Kelly on loan, this was him starting to break through, and we to make a decision on signing him by the end of the season based on his last couple of games and what he's shown so far, you would say, I don't know, I've not seen anything. Scored a lovely goal against Dundee, we're 6 up, so you can't really give too much for that. And his actual job is to be a bit more distributive and involved in the game, and I've not seen a lot of that. Delighted to see him coming into the first team, of course, but I need to see him put his stamp on the game. You know, it's unique, but if you look at when Bendo very briefly broke through, you went, right, that guy's an absolute star. And I know that's quite unique. But that's what youth needs to show if they want to stay in the team, because one of the main reasons he's getting in the team is we've got personnel to compete. We've got Callum McGregor out, we've got unperforming players all around about him. He's got a real opportunity here. I don't want to see him not take that. So yeah, he starts for me on Saturday, but he's got to put his stamp on the game and shows what he can do, because at the moment, I don't know if he's a good player or a bad player. Really don't.
And I think that's fair. I think Daniel Kelly himself, and any of these kids, Rocco Vata, Mitchell Frame, anyone else who's around Celtic at the moment from the academy, all they were saying was, at least give me a chance. You know, at least give me game time. Some guys spend years, you know, they join the academy at the age of 8, and by the time they're 21, they've hardly kicked the ball and they head off to the championship or something like that. Daniel Kelly's now found himself in the team, in the squad, and getting game time, getting minutes in the last 3 games. And I think he seems a very level-headed boy, and I think he'll appreciate the chance. But I'm sure that whether it's his academy coaches or Rodgers or the folk that are around him, the folk that guide him, they'll be saying, that's great. You've found your feet. You've played a few games. You're maybe a bit more up to speed with the senior game. The boys played 4 games in adult football. Bucky Thistle was his first game, and then the 3 games since. So it's not a lot, and his total minutes, aren't a lot at all. So leeway, allowed for those 3-4 games. But now, if he wants to develop and be a starter, you need to show more. So I don't think it's harsh to demand that, because these guys they're at Celtic and they know what it's all about, Brydo. So there's an opportunity for him. But I would agree with James, and I think Daniel Kelly would agree. More now required, and maybe, let's hope he gets a wee chance to do that at the weekend.
Yeah, and I think it's a big difference between starting games and coming off the bench, especially coming off the bench when the team's not playing well. He came off the bench. One of his games is Hearts away, which down to 10 men, so it's really difficult. The other game obviously was he came on against Livingston, where the team just there was no fluency at all. The game that he did come on and score his goal was the game where absolutely flying. So I just think it's really difficult. I think these young boys are meant to be coming in. We made the point earlier in the season with some of the other players that are we being too hard on them, because they're probably not meant to be starting games. They're not meant to be the player we're looking to. Like Yang, when he first came in, was he really the guy that we were at that time looking, demanding that he goes and wins his games? No, the idea really is that they come in and we drip feed them in, and they learn, and through the season they actually progress and perhaps challenge for a place. So I think it's important to know that he looks like he's got something, and I agree with you. We've not seen it properly yet, but I think we can only judge him if he gets a start in the team and see how the team is different with him in it.
Yeah, and on that, just at the moment, nobody's grabbed the shirt. Matt O'Reilly will, he will remain in place, and I think rightfully so. But Iwata, Bernardo, they can't grumble too much. I think both those players have suffered at times, from the start of the season, a wee bit in, a wee bit out and stuff. But they've had their opportunities in the last couple of games, and I don't think they can complain if Kelly is the one afforded the opportunity this weekend. I think if Brendan Rodgers does play O'Reilly in the 6th, Brydo, it would be an interesting move, because he's not done it so far. Ange obviously played him there in Callum McGregor's absence last season. I don't think Brendan Rodgers has ever played O'Reilly in that 6. So if he does make that move, it's a departure from what he's done so far. But again, I don't think any of us would really argue if it's O'Reilly, Bernardo and Kelly. Let's see what he goes with. The wingers, I think, pick themselves, James. You've got Daizen Maeda, hat-trick hero. Can't drop that guy, can you?
I mean, don't get me wrong, I still sell him in the summer, but he starts. Guy scores 3 goals, he'll be flying. So now he starts for me 100%.
Yeah, so that was his 100th game for Celtic, and the first time, Brydo, that he scored more than 1 goal in a competitive game for the club. So, as James says, he'll be full of confidence. And another guy that should have taken a lift, and I know it's Livy, so I get that, but Nicholas Kuhn for me was man of the match, and he at least started to show something of the player that he potentially can be for Celtic.
He definitely did,
absolutely.
yeah.
I mean,
oh, sorry, James.
When you go, Brian, I'm sorry. When you go.
Sorry, mate. He definitely did do that. He definitely did. My only issue is still that he's a left-footed player on the right-hand side when you play teams like St Johnstone, and they'll sit in deep. And I think, and gobble up that space. He did do it really well. I think the movement of the players around him was a lot better than it was in other games, and that helped him. His few nice touches. He looked like he had confidence with the wee dink passes, and he was trying to create. He was forcing the issue himself, so he wasn't hiding like we accused him of. I certainly did in the games of Hibs away and things like that, where he felt like he didn't want to do that. He looked like somebody that had a point to prove, and I think he did that against Livingston.
He obviously had this issue when he arrived at Celtic Park. He had some sort of dental treatment or something going on, which meant he couldn't eat. You might have remembered it from the time. And Brendan Rodgers has come out with quotes in the last week or so saying that he basically lost 8 kilos, which is quite a lot for a guy that probably only weighs about 60 kilos to start with. So there's not a lot of kilos to lose there for Nicholas Kuhn. And the suggestion is that that's left him devoid of his running power, which is a big part of his game. And Brydo, you and I were both at that Hibs game, and at times, whoever the Hibs left fullback was or left wing back was, he was leaving Nicholas Kuhn for dead down that line. And at that point, you're wondering, because there was rumours that in training, his